Am I the AH for disagreeing with my wife's idea of her never learning how to cook? My wife, 24, and I, 26 years old female, are struggling in our marriage as she believes she does not need to help cook or prepare food or even help clean up after, besides dishes. She was raised in a family with no chores, and they had a maid come clean the house. She has never learned to cook and cannot boil water. Despite me walking her through it, she just loses patience. I love my wife and have taken time out of our evenings to show her how to cook and measure spices, for example. She lasts about 2 minutes before either walking away or throwing a tantrum that she doesn't want to learn, and I should be the only who in this house who has to know how to cook. The other night, I got home from work and was exhausted since it has been a busy week in healthcare. She complained she has not spent enough time with me these past few days, so I offered to have her cook with me so she can learn while also spending time together. I thought it would be cute to make a recipe together that we never ate before. She threw a fit and said she just wanted to just TV, but eventually agreed to sit in the kitchen with me. About 10 minutes in, I asked her to wash a grill rack since she usually does the dishes when I cook. Surprise, she threw a tantrum. Eventually, she did it because she was hungry, and I was busy cooking 3 different parts of the dinner. A few minutes later, I had to go outside to and grill some chicken, and I asked if she could start putting some spices away so I would have less cleanup. I think you know what happened next. She eventually stopped yelling and complaining and put some stuff away. I gave her plate of food first to enjoy since I still had some cleaning up to do. I talked to some friends about it and they said if it was their significant other who never cooked, they would eventually said they had to prepare their own meals if they would not help. I have mentioned in the past she should learn to cook on her own for numerous reasons, but one being that she is a very picky eater, so anything I do cook, I have to prepare differently and separately. I am also the one who does the handyman duties as well as take care of all the bills and yard work. I do have to give credit where credit is due and mention that she does the dishes and puts the laundry away. Am I the AH for wanting her to learn how to cook and or at least help in preparing the kitchen? Am I the AH for having a birthday party and sleepover at my dad's house, but not my mom's with my step-siblings? My parents got divorced when I, 15M, was 3, and my mom got remarried when I was 8. My stepsister, 14F, and I share the same birthday. I have a stepbrother, 10M, too, but he doesn't share the same birthday. Because my stepsister's birthday is the same day as mine, my mom and her husband insisted that we celebrate our birthdays together every year and do a joint thing. I asked my mom to do it separate, but she said it was more affordable and let them go all out for us. I asked my dad if I could still have parties when I was with him and he said sure. So at mom's house I never asked for a party and just went along with whatever, while dad's house was where the real celebration happened. This year, my mom and her husband took us to some spa place for the birthday celebration and brought us out to eat afterward. They said celebrating with family was the best way to celebrate birthdays. That was 2 weeks ago. Dad threw the party for me Saturday. But it was a sleepover and a party in one. My best friends and I went to this VR gaming arcade and spent a few hours there, and then we went back to Dad's and had lots of food and snacks and played video games pretty much all night long. It was the best. Mom came to pick me up yesterday when one of my friends was leaving, and she heard them say thanks for the invite and stuff. Mom saw the balloons Dad put out too. Then she asked on the way to her house if I had a party, and I said I always do. She said I never ask her to throw a big party when I celebrate at her house. I told her I saved that stuff for Dad's since it's just about me and I don't have to share with her stepdaughter. She told me I should invite my step-siblings then. I told her I don't want to. That it's bad enough sharing the celebration at her house, but I won't do it at Dad's, and I told her they're not my friends, I don't want to spend time with them, I just have to. Mom's husband was pissed when he heard. Then my stepbrother was upset that he missed out because he loves video games and never gets to play them all night. My mom lectured me for like an hour last night about it. Am I the AH? Am I the AH for leaving my brother passed out in a luxury hotel and going back to sleep? Last month, I, 21M, went on a family trip with my parents and my brother, 26M, to a pretty high-end all-inclusive hotel. Before I dive into the story, you should know that while my brother and I get along really well, we have our moments of friction. The main issue is that he's the kind of person who lives life to the absolute fullest, which sounds great, but he tends to overdo it. Think of Barney from How I Met Your Mother, but in real life. There have even been a few times where he's called me at 4 a.m. because he has no way of getting home after changing the plans and drinking too much. There's no Uber in our city, FYI. He usually apologizes later and repays me in some way, but honestly, I've started avoiding going out with him too often because of this. Now, in a fancy hotel with unlimited drinks, it was almost impossible not to go out at night, so I went with him. Before we left our hotel room, I told him, "Hey, I'm just having a few drinks and heading back early." He agreed. We enjoyed some live music, had a few drinks, and by midnight, when the music ended, I reminded him that the bars closed at 2 a.m. and suggested we grab one more drink before heading back. He said sure. But after that last drink, he decided he wanted to stay out longer. I reminded him that we had family plans the next day and it wouldn't be fun being hungover, but he pretty much ignored me. So, I left him and went back to the room to sleep. Fast forward to 4 a.m. and the hotel room phone rings. I wake up, notice his bed is empty, and answer. It's the lobby telling me my brother is wasted, passed out, laying down in a hallway, and had thrown up all over himself. They asked if someone could come help him. Still half asleep and pretty pissed, I just hung up the phone, disconnected it, and went back to bed. When I woke up around 9 a.m., his bed was still empty, and I had a bunch of missed calls from my parents. I called my mom, and she started yelling at me, asking why I hadn't helped my brother. Turns out, my brother eventually made it to my parents' room around 6 a.m., helped by 2 hotel staff members. Apparently, he had also broken a glass door, and they were charging my parents' card for it. To make matters worse, the staff had told my parents they'd called our room first, and someone, me, had answered, only to hang up. When I went to my parents' room, they tore into me for not helping my brother. What surprised me the most wasn't their anger, they didn't know the full context, but the fact that they didn't seem upset with my brother at all, even though he was the one who caused all the chaos. My parents and my brother ignored me for most of the day, and we never really talked about the incident again. Eventually, the tension faded, but I'm left wondering. Am I the AH for leaving my brother to deal with the mess he caused?